You ever notice how men can focus on one thing so intensely that the entire world could be on fire behind them and they wouldn't even blink? And meanwhile you, if you're a woman, can cook, answer a message, think about tomorrow's meeting, remember something from 5 years ago, sense a shift in someone's tone, plan the next 3 steps of your week, and still catch that the dog is too quiet in the other room? Yeah, that's not personality. That's architecture. Let me tell you something most people never even question. You and the person you love don't think with the same kind of brain. Not metaphorically, literally. Men operate like a straight line. Women operate like a fractal. And once you understand that, everything, your relationships, your conflicts, your communication, even your self-trust changes. So let's start from the only place that matters. How your brain was built. Men, the single-thread processor. A man's brain is like a laser beam. Direct, singular, focused. It prioritizes one thing at a time because that's the core of its efficiency. This is why when he's doing something, he's doing exactly that something. If he's driving, he's driving. If he's watching a video, he's watching a video. If he's working, he's working. If he's thinking, he's thinking. And if you try to talk to him during any of these, he freezes, glitches, or answers in monosyllables. He's not ignoring you. He's not being rude. His brain literally shifts gears one at a time. When Freud said that understanding human behavior starts with understanding instinct, he wasn't exaggerating. A man's cognitive instinct is linear survival logic. Where is the problem? What is the task? What's next? Women, the fractal mind. A woman's brain is not a line. It is a network, alive, multidimensional, constantly connecting patterns, meanings, emotions, intuitions, memories, and future possibilities at once. It's like having tabs open, yes, but tabs that talk to each other. This is why Jung said the feminine psyche naturally carries the bridge between the rational mind and the unconscious. Women don't overthink. They process reality in layers. You perceive microsignals. You detect changes in people. You remember nuances. You anticipate consequences. You feel timing. You intuit danger. You sense frequency and intention. While a man navigates one road, a woman sees the entire map. Why that matters? Because people suffer not from how they think, but from believing the other thinks the same way. He's not cold. He's linear. You're not dramatic. You're fractal. He focuses deeply. You perceive widely. He processes through steps. You process through layers. Neither is superior. But when they misunderstand each other, both get frustrated. This is why relationships implode. Not for lack of love, but for lack of awareness of how two brains dance. And when you learn this, you stop interpreting. You start understanding. Here's the dangerous part. If you don't understand your own cognitive architecture, you will think something is wrong with you. You will think, why can't I switch off? Why do I perceive so much? Why do I remember details others forget? Why do I sense things before they happen? Why do I think in spirals, not in lines? And then you compare yourself with the opposite brain, as if the two were supposed to match. No, they're not supposed to be the same. They're supposed to be complementary forces. And here's the punchline. Most people never discovered their own cognitive style. They're living on autopilot, reacting, not understanding, arguing, not translating. You deserve better. You deserve clarity. You deserve self-knowledge. You deserve internal power. So let me tell you something simple but life-changing. When you understand how your brain works, you stop apologizing for who you are, and you start using it to your advantage. Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. You know what the brain is? A frequency machine. Men vibrate in one signal at a time. Women vibrate in multiple signals simultaneously. And when you start seeing your mind like this, as architecture, not flaw, you unlock something priceless. Self-permission. Permission to think the way you think. Permission to feel the way you feel. Permission to be exactly who you are. Now listen carefully because this matters. Your brain type determines how you love, how you get hurt, how you make decisions, how you communicate, how you manifest, how you sabotage yourself, how you connect, how you disconnect, how you create, how you destroy your own peace, and how you rebuild your power. This is about your life, not just your relationships. And yes, in part 2, we're going deeper into the real science of these two cognitive designs and how to use both to create harmony, high communication, and emotional power. Let me take you deeper now, not into cliches, not into stereotypes, but into the architecture that actually shapes your behavior, your communication, your emotional intelligence, and the way you deal with life. Because here's the truth no one tells you clearly. Your brain type defines your emotional logic, and emotional logic defines your entire destiny. Let's get real. Men, the single path architecture. A male brain is not simple. It's specialized. It narrows focus because that's how it creates efficiency. One objective, one direction, one emotional frame at a time, and that affects everything. He solves before he feels. If you come to him upset, his instinct is, what's the problem? What's the fix? Not because he lacks empathy, but because his emotional processing arrives after the logic cycle. His brain moves like a train. Linear track, destination, stop, next. Break the linearity and you break the man. That's why when he's overwhelmed, he shuts down. It's not rejection, it's overload. Freud wasn't wrong when he said that what we call reason is mostly our instinct wearing a suit. A man's instinct is solve, stabilize, move on. This is why he can do nothing for hours. And his brain is perfectly fine with it. It's not emptiness, it's reset. And trust me, society shames this reset far more than it should. Women, the fractal processor. Now look at your brain if you're a woman. You don't solve before you feel. You solve through feeling. Your cognition is multi-threaded, multi-sensory, multi-directional. This is why you can sense a tone shift, read an expression, feel a frequency, predict an outcome, connect a memory, and evaluate a possibility, all while you're stirring a pot and answering a message. Jung used to say that the feminine psyche has a natural, effortless access to the movements of the unconscious, not magic, structure. You process reality like a hologram, one image, infinite reflections. This is power, but it's also why the world overwhelms you faster. You feel before you categorize. You read the whole environment at once. You pick up things others don't see, and your brain stores micro details that later reveal patterns. That's not overthinking. That's high-resolution consciousness. But here's where things get painful. This fractal architecture also means you can sense threat in things a man genuinely can't see, not because he doesn't care, but because his brain isn't scanning the same layers. You perceive context. He perceives direction. You perceive nuance. He perceives target. You perceive meaning. He perceives action. Neither is wrong. Both are necessary. Together they create a complete map of reality. So why do relationships collapse? Because people assume the other is malfunctioning. She thinks he's disconnected. He thinks she's exaggerating. She thinks he doesn't care. He thinks she expects the impossible. And both are wrong. It's not lack of love. It's lack of translation. Let me show you what actually happens. When a man is stressed, he narrows. He tunes out. He goes silent. He needs isolation to reorganize. When a woman is stressed, she expands. She scans everything. She talks to process. She needs connection to regulate. See the problem? His instinct is to withdraw. Her instinct is to reach. She thinks the silence means I'm alone. He thinks the talking means I'm failing. But neither of them is actually hearing the other. They're hearing their own architecture. And here's the deeper psychological truth. Your cognitive structure shapes your trauma response, your intuition style, your emotional triggers, your conflict rhythm, your needs, your defenses, and even the way you self-sabotage. Let me show you how. Male cognitive sabotage. Shutting down, avoidance, emotional minimalism, over-rationalizing, suppressing intuition, confusing efficiency with emotional distance. Female cognitive sabotage, over-processing, emotional fusion, rescuing everyone, carrying invisible weight, internalizing rejection, confusing sensitivity with weakness. But these patterns only exist when you're unconscious of your design. When you become conscious, you turn these weaknesses into weapons. Your perception becomes strategy. Your emotional resolution becomes clarity. Your intuition becomes intelligence. Your focus becomes execution. Because power isn't in being linear or fractal. Power is in knowing which field you operate in and how to use your structure intentionally. And here's a truth you need to hear. You are not meant to think like your partner. You're meant to complement their architecture. Your linearity brings stability. Your fractal awareness brings depth. Your logic brings direction. Your intuition brings meaning. Your focus brings execution. Your perception brings foresight. Together, you're not two halves. You're two full systems operating in harmony. This is why communication transforms drastically when you understand this. Men need clarity. Women need connection. Clarity regulates the male brain. Connection regulates the female brain. He hears structure. You hear tone. He feels safe when the problem is defined. You feel safe when the emotion is recognized. Talk to him with direction. He opens. Talk to her with presence. She grounds. This is psychology. This is neuroscience. This is energy. This is communication with awareness. And once you know this, you stop fighting each other and start using your differences as a superpower. So let me leave you with this before we enter part 3. Nothing is wrong with your brain. Nothing is wrong with the way you process. Nothing is wrong with your rhythm, your intensity, your silence, or your depth. You are not broken. You're built differently. And when you embrace that, you start moving like someone who finally understands their own code. Part 3 is where everything converges. Self-ownership, emotional intelligence, conscious relationships, and how to actually use your architecture to create the life you want. Now that you understand how the two architectures work, let's talk about the part that actually changes your life. What you do with this knowledge. Because knowing the difference isn't enough. You need to use the difference consciously, strategically, compassionately, so your relationships stop draining you and start expanding you. Let's go deep. 1. Stop expecting your partner to mirror your brain. Most conflicts don't come from lack of love. They come from expecting the other person to think exactly like you. If you have a fractal mind, you expect connection, nuance, emotional presence. If you have a linear mind, you expect clarity, direction, and order. When you don't get what your architecture needs, your brain reads it as danger, not disagreement. That's why tiny conflicts can feel huge, not because of the argument, but because of the mismatch in processing. So here's your first upgrade. Let's expect different minds, not broken ones. That alone removes 70% of your unnecessary suffering. 2. Communication is not talking, it's translation. You must translate your world into the structure the other person understands. If you're talking to a linear brain, go straight to the point. Define the objective. Don't stack 5 feelings at once. Be specific. Give him a direction. His nervous system relaxes when the pathway becomes clear. If you're talking to a fractal brain, start with emotional presence. Acknowledge her internal landscape. Don't minimize the details. Let her process out loud. Respond to the feeling, not just the fact. Her nervous system relaxes when she feels seen. This is not manipulation. This is emotional intelligence at its highest form. And yes, it works with partners, friends, bosses, and even with yourself. 3. Build your goals around your architecture. Stop forcing yourself into the wrong operating system. If you have a linear brain, structure is your power. You thrive with one mission at a time, clear steps, simple disciplines, defined milestones. Your best results come from focusing intensely on fewer goals, not juggling 20. If you have a fractal brain, flow is your power. You thrive with multisensory stimulation, creative freedom, emotional meaning, nonlinear insights. Your best results come when you allow your intuition to lead and your logic to refine. Trying to live in the wrong architecture destroys your potential. Or, your emotional triggers make sense. Stop shaming them. A linear brain gets overwhelmed by emotional chaos because it breaks the single path structure. A fractal brain gets overwhelmed by emotional silence because it loses the multi-threaded connection. See how beautifully logical this is? Stop asking, why am I like this? Start asking, what architecture is being activated in me right now? This is how you regulate yourself with precision. 5. Your intuition works differently. Use yours as not theirs. Linear intuition shows up through pattern recognition, not emotion. It's the sudden clarity that says, this doesn't add up. Fractal intuition shows up through emotional resonance. It's the internal whisper that says, this doesn't feel right. One is geometric, the other is energetic. Both are intelligence. Use them consciously. 6. Relationships work when both learn the rhythm. Let me give you the simplest formula. Men move toward peace. Women move toward truth. He seeks stability. You seek meaning. He fears chaos. You fear invisibility. He needs clarity first. You need emotional safety first. If both needs are recognized instead of judged, relationships stop feeling like a battlefield and start feeling like a partnership. And here's the deeper psychological truth. Different architectures create balance, not conflict. When both stop trying to convert the other, your architecture shapes your self-worth. Rewrite it consciously. If you grew up in an environment that mismatched your brain type, you probably internalized lies like, you're too much, you're not enough, you're complicated, you're cold, you're emotional, you're impossible, you're distant, you're confusing. None of these are truths. They're just the result of living in a world that wasn't built to understand your architecture. The real truth is simple. You're not broken, you're built. And built correctly. The moment you embrace your cognitive design, your confidence returns, your decisions sharpen, your relationships deepen, your goals accelerate, your emotional life stabilizes, your intuition becomes laser accurate. This is alignment. This is power. This is consciousness in action. 8. Let's close with what actually matters. Understanding your brain and the brains of the people you love isn't about psychology. It's about freedom. Freedom from miscommunication, freedom from guilt, freedom from self-doubt, freedom from resentment, freedom from loneliness inside relationships, freedom from carrying a weight that was never yours. When you understand architecture, you stop expecting a sunflower to behave like an oak tree. You stop asking a river to behave like a stone. You stop expecting yourself to fit a shape that was never meant for you. And you start living from who you actually are. That's the moment your life expands. That's the moment your relationships become easier. That's the moment you understand your own value with brutal clarity. And that's when everything changes. If this made you see yourself differently today and feel the weight in your chest finally loosen, stay with me. There's a lot more waiting for you. More awareness, more clarity, more power. Not theories, not cliches, reality. Your reality. This is not a video about men and women. It's a video about you. Subscribe, stay close, and keep walking with us. This is Human Wave, where awakened minds rise into a life of wholeness and fulfillment.